Hey guys, back with another episode on the Pure Spider build. Now, for those of you guys who remember, a while ago I was pushing to get this truck done to run it at our KCRC Goat Hill Scale Adventure Challenge. And as a surprise to most, I was actually able to get this thing finished and run all that day with it. Now, I got some run footage that day that I want to show you guys, as well as I want to just go over what we did, what my thoughts were, what needs to be adjusted, and some things like that. Now, again, if you haven't seen much on this truck so far, this is using the Italian Pure Spider axles. These are not an IFS. This is a solid axle that has that increased high clearance design to it. And I call it the Crispy Pure Spider build because it's sitting on one of my Crispy chassis, which was a throwback to one of the builds that I did a while ago where I built a chassis for my G6 truck that I called Crispy based on Poison Spider's Crispy JK build. So, a lot of info there that isn't super important, but just a little bit of catching up for any of you guys who haven't been watching the whole time. Now, we do have the Yeti cage on top here. Again, that's just the body. Other than that, it's all custom underneath. There's nothing Yeti or anything like that underneath. So underneath here, you can see the truck as it sits. Now, the front end of this truck was one of those things that I was finishing up the last minute there. Now, I did plate that front bumper there. It does have a little bit of surface rust as well as a bunch of dirt and some rock rash. But the front end, I did have an issue with. I had the exact issue with that I was concerned with having. That small area that's only single supported did end up bending down on me after really beating on this truck all day. I was not easy on it, but it did bend, and that is something that I am going to have to fix. I think I'm going to stack 2 bars there so that I can laminate those, the length of them, just doubling up the thickness of that. I think that should be enough to take care of that. One thing that did cause is when it did bend down, it allowed this sharp end of that bumper to get into the front tire. And if I rotate it here, you will be able to see that I've got a zip tie fix going on here. I cut the tire straight down the middle, and to get through the rest of the day, I just zip tied the 2 halves of the tire back together in that area and kept running all day. Worked out just fine, and like I said, I was able to stay on the rocks all day. One other casualty I had of the day was this front Robotronic servo arm. You can see that it is hooked up, but it is just spinning free. That's actually because I stripped the splines right out of that servo horn. So that's going to have to go, and I'll probably throw on an axial servo horn. The axials are really the only ones that I've never stripped the splines out of. I've probably only stripped 1 or 2 sets of splines out of a Robotronics though. So that is saying something, and I still think that those are a good choice. Beyond that, the rest of the truck, as far as design-wise, ran great. No issues whatsoever on anything. The Pure Spider axles, the biggest part of this whole truck. You will see that I took the knuckle weights off, both front and rear on this truck currently. I ended up running all day. I ran 1 lap with them and the rest without them. I liked the more nimble setup that this truck had without them, and overall, I think that the low center of gravity on this thing doesn't really require the use of the knuckle weights. So as far as my personal preference, I would not run knuckle weights on this truck. Running these Pure Spider axles, though, was one of the most noticeable things that I probably ran in a really, really long time. The increased clearance that it really gave, combined with just regular 1.9 tires. These are the Pitbull Growler 1.9s stretched onto 2.2 wheels, but the outside height is still 4.75 inches tall, so it's right up there with just the normal 1.9s that we're running. However, that increased clearance on this thing, I felt like I was driving a 2.2 truck all day. It just flew across the rocks. Those nuisance rocks, the ones that you run into that are lots of loose rocks kind of just all over an area where a lot of times you'll just end up, you can't dodge them, you can't drive around them quickly, you have to pick a line and just kind of get through there so you didn't get something hung up. With this truck, I was able to just blast through those areas. That increased clearance, as well as maybe the combination of the 2 front skid plates that helped everything just kind of get up and over. Overall, I just was super impressed all day with how well that this thing was able to just blast through stuff. So initially, when I had the Pure Spiders here, I really appreciated the machine work. I thought that they were a beautifully machined axle. The design of them was extremely cool, all of that. But I didn't know that I loved them as far as if it was something that I would want to run forever or anything like that. After driving them, though, for the first time, I'll have to have a set someday. This truck is being built for Brett up in Canada. I'm sending this whole truck to him once it's done, but I'm just going to have to grab a set of my own, because just driving this truck combined with the low center of gravity chassis design that this was really after. The whole point of this chassis when I originally built it for SCX-10 axles was just keep everything super low, and in an SCX-10 truck that didn't make a ton of sense. It was just something different, something I wanted to build. But with this truck, with keeping that super low center of gravity and then still having the ground clearance with that axle up front, it just made this truck an extremely capable truck to go fast through rough rocks in. And overall, that is something that I was truly impressed with, and really made me happy to drive it, and I was really impressed overall. With all that being said, there still is work to be done on this truck. I need to get that front end fixed up, and then I still need to build winch mounts for those front and rear KMS free spool winches. But with that and all, we'll get into the running footage of this thing. I didn't get a ton with that front bumper kind of bending down. The video was bothering me because you could see the gap between the body and the bumper, and I didn't notice it right away. It wasn't the most noticeable thing until I cut the tire. So a lot of the video I just scrapped because I wasn't happy with it. So I only got a couple of minutes of video that I was happy enough with to show you guys. You can still probably see a little bit of gap in some of those, but it is what it is. For now, this is the video you guys get, and we will get more in the future once I get this truck completely wrapped up. But for now, that's all, guys, and enjoy the footage, and we'll see you on the next one.
Aaron does. What? It won't fit. Okay.